keywords like highlighted on here on the slides. And basically, if we have to summarize it, you have to give it like a broad definition. It would be paraphrasing is sharing an idea in your own words. So before getting into how we can use it, how we can apply it in Toastmasters, in our Toastmasters journey, first I would like to share why it is so important to translators. So first of all, translators, we have two key skills that we need to have. The first one is comprehension, and the second one is flexibility. And you can see here, there are two pictures, two images here. And if you're a nerdy or if you are a X-Men fan, if you're a Japanese manga fan, you might recognize these two characters. So the first one on your top right and top left-hand side, this person is Professor X from X-Men. So why I would like to put him here is that I would say translators are like, we're kind of like psychic. Sometimes we need to really get into a text, really to read and to understand what speakers or what this writer is talking about. So comprehension is a really important part in translation. If we don't get the meaning right, then our translation might not be as accurate, or it might not be as engaging. And then the next one will be flexibility. Flexibility, I think most of you might not have the idea why translators need flexibility. The flexibility I'm referring here is language flexibility. And language flexibility is actually just like the Luffy you see here, the main character from One Piece. He's made of rubber. So as translators, we would always have to be like a rubber. We have to stretch our limbs as long as we can, and then change the shape just to give a good translation. Try not to translate word by word. A perfect example here would be the translation of the recently movie hit, Fast and Furious. I know we have a new movie that's just came out, right? So Fast and Furious in Chinese, in mainland China, China, they call it 速度与激情. But in Taiwan, we translated it into 玩命关头. So Fast and Furious, these two words in English, yes, word by word, it's 速度与激情. But for its purpose and for what it should be as a movie title, we don't want to translate it into that way in a Taiwanese view or in most readers or movie watchers view. And then next, I would like to show you what does it have to do with Toastmasters. Before introducing you to how paraphrasing helps translators, I would like to share with you, this is related to you that we can resonate, is how can we use it and why should I use paraphrasing skills in Toastmasters. So first of all, it is so important because in every Toastmasters journey, we all have to go through level 1, project 3, researching and presenting. So in this project, if you haven't done it before, you can read the purpose and overview right here. And if you've done this before a long time ago, and here is a recap for you. So basically, this project requires you to give a well-organized and well-researched speech on any topic. And this topic has to be something that you are not so familiar with already. And you have to condense everything into a 5 to 7 minute speech. You have to be effective. So how do we transform a new knowledge, a new concept into a 5 to 7 minute effective speech? That is when paraphrasing can do its magic. So before getting into how paraphrasing works, first I would like to point out some ineffective approaches that I see they have seen a lot of Toastmasters make in their level 1, project 3, researching and presenting speech. So first of all, they are not audience-centric. So you can see a lot of speakers that will read off scripts all the time, and then they would also put forth the definition of the term or concept in a really professional way. So they would just copy something or read off something from Wikipedia or from a dictionary. And for some people, if you don't have the background, it's just so hard to understand. So this is like an effective approach. And I think most of us, 90% of us might have actually experienced this type of speeches, even though you haven't really seen one in Toastmasters. That is back in the school days. when our teachers are reading off textbooks all the time, and then they're also quoting all the definitions from the textbook. Yes, when teachers take more than a minute to talk, we all fall asleep, right? So we don't want to be this kind of speaker. And here, I would like to share with you how paraphrasing can help. How paraphrasing can help not only with this project, but with your Toastmasters journey, throughout your Toastmasters journey. First of all, I would like a show of hands here if you have your camera on. How many of you have ever felt that it's so hard for you to engage your audience? Can you raise your hand to show me? So hard for you. Yeah, a lot of you feel that way before, right? And then the second one, how many of you have feel a little bit awkward and uncomfortable on stage? Have you ever felt that way? Yes, I believe everyone has really gone through this before. And the last part, how many of you have struggled with writing script? They feel like you have to memorize everything, but when you're on stage, you just forget everything. Yeah, I'm also the same way. I've been through the whole journey before, but then I realized I can use paraphrasing. I can use to apply my paraphrasing skills to speech. That is how I can get rid of, how I can overcome these obstacles and anxieties. So with paraphrasing, you can for sure boost your audience engagement, and then you can of course be able to own the stage. You feel confident and you can speak naturally on stage. And last but not least, you don't have to spend that much cognitive effort. That means you have least memorization to do when you're doing your speech, when you know how to paraphrase well. So here, I would like to show you some step-by-step a guide to paraphrasing. I also call it Paraphrasing 101. And here you can see 4 steps. And these 4 steps, I would also like to say say they are like the 4 R's for paraphrasing. So 4 R's of paraphrasing. First step is to read and reread. What does it mean by reading and rereading? It means you have to read until you understand what the original text or the original speech is about. And second, then you can moving on to rewording. You'd have to find the equivalent words or synonyms that you can use to swap out with the words in the original text. And then the third step is the step where you come up with your own paraphrase. That is when you can do sentence structure, you can change the sentence structure and then have a different grammar structure. And I can show you the examples later. And fourth, this is the most important step, is you always have to go back to the original text to make sure nothing additional is added to the paraphrase, and then you don't accidentally miss out some key points. Okay, so before getting into the examples, I would also like to remind all of you, you have to keep these principles in mind if you're using paraphrasing skills. First of all, you have to really understand and internalize the text before you start paraphrasing. And second, you really need to focus on the text as a whole, so the entire meaning, instead of just swapping out the words and the sentences. And the third principle is that you have to avoid personal opinions and interpretations when you do paraphrasing. So you don't want any additional information to be put into the paraphrase. So here, we're moving on to the most exciting part of the workshop. It is try and learn. It means it's our warm-up time. We have to do some exercise. But first of all, I would, of course, show you how this works and how can we do paraphrasing, how it actually works. So here we have a sentence here. Giraffes like acacia leaves and hay, and they can consume 75 pounds of food a day. So we read it and we understand it. It is a short sentence, so it's really easy to understand. And then to the second step, we need to do rewording. What words can we swap out? So here we can see we can swap out the word consume. Consume is a higher register word that we can use some other words to substitute, to replace. And the third one, we have to rephrase. We can see here, giraffes, they like these type of veggies, and then they can consume, they can eat something a day, right? They can eat this a day. And these two things actually are not conflicting with each other. So then we can swap out their sequence, their order as well. So we can paraphrase it this way. A giraffe can eat up to 75 pounds of acacia leaves and hay daily. So this way, we have first, we read it, we understand it, and second, we have rewording the word consume, and also we put giraffe into a singular form, and then we have rephrase. We swap out the order of the sentence, and then last, we confirm, we recheck that the meaning is the same as the original. Okay, and starting from the second examples, I would like to see if any of our audience would like to give it a try. And can I have our host Darren's help to see if we have any audience that would like to give it a try? I will show the examples here first. So the example is here. This product causes the breakdown of excess body fat, and it would help people shed pounds. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to give it a try? Darren, do you see anyone?
If no one want to try, can I
And
try?
Darren, yeah, sure, for sure you can try.
So what a word, right? So the words I can
You can swap out the word.
I think it says. It says the fat. Yeah, it says the body fat. You know, I don't want too much body fat, so that's the word
You want to swap out? Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to drop up.
So this one only, or do you have other words that you want to swap out?
Cause.
Yeah, okay. Cause, this is a good one. Okay, so Darren actually caught two really good words that we can swap out. And here we can also see some causal effects that we can change the order as well. So here we can do things like this. So cause is a word we can swap out, break down as well, excess as well, and shed pounds. These two words are also words that we can swap out. So as I mentioned, there's also causal effects. So this product would cause this first and then result in something else. And then we can change the result to the first part. And then we talk about the results and then how the cause, right? So we can paraphrase it this way. This product helps people lose weight as it eliminates extra fat in the body. So we change the word breakdown, cause, excess, and shed pounds here, and then also swap out the order. Okay, and then we have a third example. Okay, this is connected to our topic today, pathways. Pathway is designed to help you build the competencies you need to communicate and lead. Do we have anyone in our audience that would like to give it a try? If not.
Yeah, so someone.
Yeah. Can you?
Toastmaster, yes.
Yeah, for sure. Can you turn on your mic and?
Okay, sure.
Welcome.
Well, first of all, probably the word is designed to can be simplified, right? It's designed to, and also the competencies you need to communicate and learn, because this is I still remember this is the so-called adjective clause 形容词子句, so probably we can make it more simple.
Yeah, for sure.
So my answer will be pathway aims to help people pathways aims to help people become competent in communication and leading.
Or leadership. Yeah, this is a good one. This is really a good one. Everyone give them a round of applause. This is a really good paraphrasing. Yeah, this is a really good paraphrase. Good job. And my answer here would also be similar, is that I swap out design and build in competencies. Pathway serves to equip you with the skills needed to communicate and lead. So it's the same thing. Instead, I didn't swap out communication leadership. So you can see here, if you know paraphrasing skills, you can do a lot of stuff. On the stage, you won't feel panic every time when you forgot your script. You always have a lot of different versions of sentences that you can use. So on stage, you feel comfortable, you feel confident, and that will allow you to be a great speaker. Okay, and this is the last example we have. Okay, despite the undoubted fact that everyone's vision of what constitutes success is different, one should spend one's time establishing and finalizing one's personal vision of it. This is a little bit hard. This is a longer text that people have to read to understand what it means before getting into paraphrasing. So I'll give everyone like 20 seconds to read. And then if you want to challenge, if you want to challenge this one, then you can also raise your hand just like our friend did. Okay. Take some time to read it. Okay, and then think about step 2, reword, rephrase, and then third one, we check to see if you leave out some key points. Okay, I think 20 seconds is up, right? So Darren, could you help me see if there's anyone in our audience that would like to give it a try?
Okay, who want to give it a try? Paraphrasing?
It can also be our Zoom masters.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good time to practice because we have the trainer and also as instructor can teach you how to paraphrasing. So if you want to try something, just like table topics, maybe under 1 minute.
It's okay. It's okay. Okay, so it seems like we're running a little bit behind right here. So I would just show everyone how I would do it. Okay. So here we actually have words that we can swap out, like vision. Vision is like a really big word that sometimes we don't really get what it means. But here it actually means our ideas about success. So for this long sentence, we can swap it out and to paraphrase it as this. We all have different ideas about success. So everyone's vision of what constitutes success is actually ideas about success. And once you do something means it's important for someone to do something, for you to spend time defining your version of success. So to establishing and finalizing, we actually swap it out with defining. Okay, so for this long sentence, it's also a good way for you to know how we can paraphrase and make the message more clearer, so your audience can understand in a simple language and will allow you to engage your audience. So at last, besides the benefits of paraphrasing in Toastmasters, we also have other benefits that paraphrasing can bring to your personal and professional life. So actually paraphrasing can help you become a better communicator. It means whenever you're talking to someone, you can always ask them a question and try to understand what they're talking about. For example, they're sharing a new idea and you can actually reply back and say something like, are you saying? And then paraphrase the ideas they just put forth. And then that way, the other person feel more engaging. And then the second one is that you are able to answer difficult questions. I actually saw a really interesting article online where there was a speaker, and he put he said how paraphrase helped him is that he was on stage once and he was introducing his new product, and someone, a reporter or someone raised his hand and then asked a really sensitive question. Why is your price so insanely expensive? That's what I remember. So insanely expensive. And then how he paraphrased the question is that, oh, are you asking about our product value? So then he went on and talk about the product value. Why kind of cover the expensive, the pricing issue. So instead, he's talking about how valuable his product is, etc. And then the third one is that this way you can also boost your English language skills. It actually helps you learn faster. And when if you're an English learner, and it actually helps you learn faster. And the last one is that you can internalize new or unfamiliar knowledge in a faster way. So by paraphrasing, you can learn new knowledge, like you can internalize into your head. When you paraphrase, you actually enter something into your brain, into your, I would say this is your CPU, right? Enter your CPU, and there you have something in your memory, and then it's something that you can use, and put it out in the future. So it's actually, paraphrasing is actually good for you in these 4 ways as well. So that will be all for my workshop session today. And for our Q&A session, I think we will do it together with our second trainer. So now I'll yield my control back to our host, Darren.
Well, thank you, Amy. I think the knowledge I learned from that is I have to digest a little bit. But I think the keywords you just mentioned, you can use your own styles to combine the information and deliver your own speech. That's pretty good. I learned from today. And we're going to our next workshop trainer, Mason Huang. She joined Toastmasters in 2018, and she is a 2020 to 2021 club president of the Alpha Toastmasters. And she's also a professional translator. Mason Huang will demonstrate why getting into the character help us authentic storytellers. Before the workshop, I will let you know if you have any questions, you can ask and put it in the chat box. 如果你有任何问题，都可以在我们的 chat box 询问。我们在后面有 Q&A 的时候，会一并的把它翻成英文询问我们的 workshop trainer. So everyone, please put your hands together. That's welcome, Mason Huang.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Right? Okay. So we can start. Okay, thanks for Amy's wonderful sharing. And following her steps, I'm going to continue our discussion about how to engage the audience like a translator. And in my session, I'm going to talk about the secrets behind a good story. I'm going to start from a very different perspective from Amy's. I'm not going to talk about what's the connection relation between translators, interpreters. I chose this topic is because storytelling is very important, and it's a very valuable skill for all the industries, not just translation and interpretation. For me, I think storytellers conquer the world. It's not well conquered worlds. They have already conquered the world. Let's see all these multi-billion-dollar industries: entertaining, Disneyland, animation, and movie industries. What they're doing is storytelling. They tell stories. And they make a lot of money. They make a big industries. Let alone all the advertising and the marketing departments in all the companies. Because in this era, we sell products not by introducing the products in detail or say something. We connect it with a story. For example, if I said it's a pork rice, 卤肉饭. So it's delicious. So how much do you want? Are you willing to spend on this bowl of pork rice? I think 20. But if I said it's grandmother's love pork rice, because when I studied abroad, my grandma missed me a lot. So she prepared this delicious dish, try to relieve my homesick. How much will it worth? I think doubled, tripled maybe, because there's a name called Grandma's Love Pork Rice, and with a very fantastic and convincing story behind it. So it finally become sort of a very delicate cuisine. Storytelling can really add up value of anything, products, your voice, your life, something you want to promote. Here, I would like to share an example with you. It's maybe not every of you are brand fans of the brand. Maybe you use our many different kinds of cell phones. But for me, yeah, I'm a fan of Apple, but that's not the point. For me, it's the best TV commercial ever. If we want to sell a cell phone, how would you introduce or how would you promote this product? For some brands, they usually say, well, it has great camera, high resolution. It can take beautiful photos. Yeah, and big storage. Big storage. It functions well. Do you want to buy it? For me, yeah, maybe, kind of. But if not, I'm not a fan of taking beautiful picture. I'm not an internet celebrity. I don't need, beautiful pictures. Maybe, or maybe not. But if I connect this product with a very, very convincing and touching story, I want to buy these products. And I have to say, because of this TV commercial, I bought my first iPhone. So let's see this TV commercial together. It's about 1 minute. You will know what I mean about a story behind a product. It's the power of storytelling. Sorry.
When I grow up, I'll be the hero of my storybook. I'll start at zero and rise and fall and rise and fall again. When I grow up, the sun will
we got
greet
multiple
me.
calls, guys. Let's go. Let's roll.
I practice every move, so inspired. When I grow up, I'll be good and strong. I'll create a world where I belong. When I grow up,
Did you see that? It's great, right? So it didn't introduce the product like, oh, it's great, it's beautiful, and the company didn't invite a very pop star to endorse these products. It just used a very simple tactics, storytelling. So it's a girl exploring somewhere and use a lot of functions of the products. And this TV commercial didn't mention anything about how great is the product, but this TV commercial conveyed a message to you. You are more powerful than you think. And maybe quote, maybe it's the bracket, with their product. So it has a very strong connection between the audience and the product. So it's very successful. That's what we are going to learn about how to use our voice in the Pathway projects. So this one is in a form of video, but how do we do that in a form of our speech? So today I'm going to introduce about it's a project called Connect with Storytelling. It's in level 3 elective, and the path I chose is innovative planning. So if some of you chose the same as mine, you will see this one when you proceed to level 3. It's an elective project. Actually, storytelling is very core in Toastmasters program. No matter it's required project or it's an elective project, but you can see it everywhere. I believe almost all the paths include this storytelling sort of to some extent, maybe in different forms, but they are using this technique. So for me, I'm not a born storyteller. Many of my evaluators told me that, yeah, you're good at logic thinking, lecturing, but storytelling, you need to practice. So yes, storytelling takes practice. Actually, I chose a lot of projects related to storytelling because I want to practice this valuable skill. And I figured out a formula. I'm not going to say it's a single magic formula, but at least it's the formula I did to virtually every of my project related to storytelling. First of all, you have a core value. And then you have your story. And then you combine the core value with your story. So basically, it's the paragraphs in your script. Oh, and I have to mention, in this Connect with Storytelling projects, your story is not required. You can choose a fiction story or fairy tale, other people's story, fine. But for me, I prefer using my own story because it's very close to me, and I will be more confident about how to use this story to touch the audience. So I prefer using my own story compared with using other story or an established story. So that's a confession I have to make. So how I do this one in my projects, first of all, I found a core value I wanted to convey to my audience. Sorry. Okay. Helping others brings happiness. Yeah, right? Our parents, teachers, books teach us about this. But do you buy it? Do you think helping others brings happiness? Yeah, maybe sometimes. Or sometimes helping others doesn't bring your happiness. So not really. So if I told you, hey, helping others brings happiness, you will say, okay, so what? Really? But after I introduced this idea, next I found a story in my closet of my life experience, and I found a story. I said a couple of years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I backpacked in Los Angeles, and I helped a woman at a metro station, and the woman, maybe she couldn't speak English because she didn't speak English to me. And so there's a big language barrier between us. It's not about English. We don't have a language to communicate. But I could figure out that she needed help. And she's a mother with 3 naughty kids running around her. And she was trying to buy tickets. So I helped her. And I could tell that maybe she was not rich because she didn't drive a car, and maybe judging from her clothing, sort of like that. But after I helped her, she felt really happy, and she took a bill, this crumpled bill, from her pocket, and she tried to flatten the bill and hand it to me. And she smiled. I was very surprised. I waved my hand and said, and I waved my hand and smiled at her. Because for me, it's not about the money. It's because I could tell how much she appreciated my help, because I really helped her to solve her problem. It's not about money. Even without money, I feel very happy because I saw the face, the smiling face. So I verified my core value. I saw her happy face and I felt happy. So I could tell you, helping others brings happiness. So it's not really a magical formula, but for me, it worked. Next time, if you are going to do a storytelling project, try this formats. It will help you to have a structure for your scripts. Think about core value you really want to survey, that you want to convey, and search your story and combine them together. You can really convince the audience and touch the audience. But what really makes it the story? Here, again, I'm using my personal story instead of other kind of story, but you can choose any stories you like. Maybe it's a fairy tale, maybe it's any Harry Potter, maybe it's any history stories you like. But for me, my favorite one is to use a true story, my personal one, And sometimes I will use a story that the audience can relate to. For example, in my previous example, many of us have the experience helping others, right? So maybe you can relate to that kind of, you see someone's happy face and you just feel happy too. Or you share something that others will say, yeah, I have experienced the same thing. Yeah, my life's just like that. The same is as good as yours. It's as miserable as yours. So the audience will buy your story and they will buy your core value and you touch them. The second one is a true story, but you plus a very special story. It's quite opposite from the first one. It's maybe it's a story or only you can tell. But what's the meaning by this one? Is, for example, one of my friends is a judge, a Taiwanese courts judge. You don't know a lot of judge, right? Yeah, because I graduated from law school, so I have some friends are lawyers, judge, and public prosecutors. So she's a judge, and she shares some of very interesting, cool stories about those cases she encountered as a judge. So not everyone can tell the story like that, right? But for me, it's wow, amazing. I've never heard a story like that. So I think, wow, it's really amazing stories. Sometimes from your profession, from your own growing up stories, your hometown, your background, you can find out some very special story that only you can tell, because it's not that possible for everyone to experience the same thing. Okay. But many people would tell me, hey, I don't have stories. Every day in my life is like the same. Come on, no single day is different as yesterday, okay? Everyone has your own story. You just need to find it. So it sounds like encouragement, of like self-help book will tell you, but it's the truth. You live your life to the fullest. You try hard to live every day. You can find out stories. And you keep exploring new things, right? If you think every day of my life is the same, you're exploring new things, you learn new skills, you meet new people, you try something new, go to somewhere you haven't been to, and you be curious. If you don't know, you ask. You look up on the internet and be perceptive to feel, right? And embrace challenges and work hard. For example, in Toastmasters, if your previous officer can ask you to take the responsibility, you go with it, because in prep, you embrace challenges and you work hard. You will have a lot of stories. It's my own experience. You say yes, and you will have a lot of stories to tell in the future. Next, actually, I would like to use this, one of my favorite quotes to conclude my session. Is the audience, they may forget what you say, but they will never forget what you make them feel. And if you are curious about my other translators live, you can find me. And I have to say, thank you. Storytellers, see you next time. Bye.
That's wonderful, wonderful. I got a story I want to tell. I got a pin from here. That's my first pin. I think that one it's maybe you can buy from a shop, $100, but that's for me. It's over. It's valueless. Sorry, it's worth $1 million because I use this one to win the contest. So every time I participate in the contest, I wear this one because that presents the power behind this. So you tell me how to buy this one. I don't know, I won't sell. There's a power of a story. Thank you, Mason. That's wonderful. They probably forget what you say, but they will remember what you make them feel. So I gotta see the questions. Someone asked the questions. So please, if you have any questions, you can type the chat box. Any questions you want to ask Mason or Amy about interpreters, pathway, or any other questions you can ask. So right now we have to do the group photo. Group photo. Now it's a group photo time.
I see.
So everyone.
Okay, photo.
Yes, group photo. So everyone, please turn on your camera. So support this meeting. We have a lot of people joining us today. Thank you for coming today. And I hope you learned something today. You can ask questions later. And we have the gestures. So everyone, just hold your gesture for maybe 3 or 5 seconds. So our Zoom master can take pictures. We have 2, just take 2 pictures. Thank you, everyone. So first one is thumbs up. Please, everyone, thumbs up. Zoom master, James, you're going to take picture, right? Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thumbs up.
I will take picture.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Alex.
1, 2, 3, cheese. Just hold on, because I will have 3 pages.
Keep holding.
And 1, 2, 3, cheese. For the 3rd pages, no one open the camera.
That's okay. We have a second gesture. That heart. Everyone, put your heart. Thank today's
1,
trainers.
1, 2, 3, cheese. Thank you. That's it.
All over?
It's done.
Okay, finish.
Yes.
Alex? Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Alex. So now it's a QS section. I didn't see the questions. Do you have any questions want to ask? 你有没有任何的问题想要问一下我们今天的讲者？中文的也可以，英文的也可以。About today's 他们的从译者的角度去解释 pathway， 或者是在对于演讲的部分可以怎么利用这些 paraphrasing and storyteller 的一个技巧在。Do anyone want questions? If you don't want to ask, oh yes. Oh, I saw Team. Yes, this one. Yeah, Timu. How to paraphrase your personal story without embarrassing yourself? How to paraphrase your personal story without embarrass yourself? Which one? Amy and Mason? You're going to ask?
This is an interesting.
Yes.
This is an interesting question, but first I would like to define like what is the embarrassing story? Like why do Tian Miu, right? Joanne? Is it Joanne?
Tianmu.
Oh, Joanna. Why
yes.
does Joanna want to paraphrase your story? Because usually we don't say paraphrase story. We usually paraphrase a short sentence or a paragraph. It's like a very professional, knowledgeable thing instead of paraphrase your story, because story is a story. I think this question will probably go to Mason.
Okay. Yeah, I have to say, actually, you don't need to paraphrase your story because you are the storyteller. So you are the original writer. So I don't think you need to paraphrase that. So you just do it whatever you want because it's your story, right? But you can, I think you can, what you can do is try to design it a little bit. What it means that you don't say a story like in Chinese, we say 流水账. But you try to add some element. For me, a very strategy I used to use is I add time. For example, I'd like to share a story with you. It's around 15 years from now. So it sounds like it's a really true story, right? Yeah. But if I just say one time, one day, it's like really, it's a story of you. Yeah, so you can use some little bit of strategy to design your story, but you don't really need to paraphrase your story because you are the storyteller. Okay, Amy, wants to say something?
It's kind of like in Chinese, we will say, "Oh, 我的朋友," like my friend, a friend of mine. So if you're afraid that you embarrass yourself, you probably can do that. But in Toastmasters, I think we also encourage people to share their true story. It is when you will feel most comfortable on stage when you are talking about your own story. I think our host, also Alpha President Darren, he actually shared a lot of his embarrassing stories at Alpha at Toastmasters. So maybe next time you can come to join one of Alpha's meetings and to see how he shares. It's like really interesting. So yeah, thank you for this question. It's a really, really interesting question, and I hope that it helps.
It's
Thank
like you combine the two topics in one question.
Yeah.
Really amazing.
Thank you.
Does anyone want to ask another question? That's it's a, you know, you ask.
Charlene?
Okay, yeah, Charlene.
Yes. If I tell a story about others, but I'm not sure it is true or not, I'm afraid it will be 以讹传讹. What I should about this problem? I'm not sure it is true. It's too interesting to believe, or some to, you know, stories unusual story, but very interesting. Can I tell a story about others? But I'm not sure it is true or not.
Could you paraphrase that?
I think I get what Charlene means. I think she's saying that if it's a story that she's not sure if it's true or not, can she share it on stage?
Thank you for your paraphrasing.
Yes,
so who's going to answer? I mean, Mason or Amy?
Mason, do you want to go first?
Okay. I think if you really want to share a story like that, first, maybe you do some verification work. You ask the original, the storyteller, whether it's true or not. Or you can, if you really care about whether you tell a wrong story or not, you can make a disclaimer at the beginning of the speech and say, oh, it's a story from my friend, but I'm not sure whether it's true or not. But I have heard that. You can say something like that if you have really. But for me, I don't do that because actually our life is more traumatic than any dramas. Dramatic, I mean. So I don't think there's an unusual story, or maybe sometimes I think, oh my God, my life is so dramatic. Then more dramatic than movies and any place.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, yes.
I agree with Mason that you can put a disclaimer in the beginning of his speech just to tell people that, oh, I'm not responsible for all of this. This is a story I heard, but it's not like, if it's not true, it's not my job, right? I'm just sharing it because I found it interesting. Or yeah, I think this is a good way. If you found a story interesting and you want to share it, but you're also not sure if it's true, then this is probably the way to go.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for your questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Do you any questions? If you don't, oh yeah. We have a type of fakeness and Patsy, right?
OK， 我想这个问题来请教 Amy 啊，请问我们在做 paraphrasing 的时候，我们都会写 script 在我们的演讲稿时候，有的时候看来看去来讲的话，不知道是什么时候哪一段的时候，你觉得它是真的需要被 paraphrasing when and why？ 你可不可以再详细的再介绍一下？谢谢你。
Thank you. Do we have foreign translator that would translate the question or?
So
no.
Okay, sure.
You
can just speak Chinese, yes.
Passy, do you mind me flying back in English, or do you prefer me flying back in Chinese?
Either way is fine. Thank you.
Either way is fine. Okay. So this is a really good question about when and why do we use paraphrasing. So when, I would not say exactly when, but for script, how I usually do it is that I have a structure. I have a script, but I don't really go with the script every time. So every time when I practice, I look at the structure and I paraphrase it myself. So it's not a matter of when. It's kind of like when you finish a script and you go through it and you figure out, some places in written language it looks pretty, but it's just so hard for you to share it on stage. that is when you need to paraphrase. I think most of the time that is when you have to paraphrase. You find it really hard to memorize. You find it really hard to turn it into spoken words. That's when you want to paraphrase, and that will also give you more confidence on stage. You don't feel like, oh, I forgot that sentence. How do I go on? I actually experienced that before. And about the next question is, why do we paraphrase, right? It's also the same answer as the last question, is that it helps us be more comfortable on stage, helps us to be a more natural speaker. So actually you probably have heard a lot of evaluators said before that a speaker is reading off the script. So it's actually pretty obvious if you have a script at hand, you have a script and you just go on stage and just read it out. It's pretty obvious. So that is why we need it when we want to go on stage, and we want to engage ourselves first before engage our audience. So when you do paraphrasing, you feel comfortable on stage, you enjoy the feeling on stage, you don't feel the anxiety, you feel anxious, and then you can finally engage your audience. I think that's my answer to your question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is a really good question.
We found Zhen Qifeng. Is these skills also useful on the post? Is these skills, I mean, what kind of skills? He's talking about a storyteller or paraphrasing? Sometimes I think
storytelling.
Storytelling.
Yeah, I'm Jonathan, and I asked these questions about I think our club's post sometimes I may think it's too long, and then many people won't see it thoroughly. So I want to ask both of the lecturers to answer we usually use the storytelling skills to write a post, and we usually follow a timeline to write our story. Are there any other method to write the story, or how can we use the paraphrasing skills into the post?
A post, you mean Facebook post or?
Yeah, Facebook post.
So
Nathan, do you want to go first about
sure.
that?
Yeah, I think first of all, it depends on what kind of post that. If it's in promoting post, for example, it's the meeting next time, I don't follow the timeline because I want the audience to see the most direct information, the time, the venue, and the highlights of the meeting. I don't follow the timeline. But if it's a review or a looking back post, maybe sometimes you can just follow the timeline, and still you can put the most exciting parts, the highlight parts at the very beginning, because Facebook usually it's not good for long story for Facebook posts. I think that's the a negative point about the social media. So for me, I want to put the most interesting, the highlight part at the beginning, and then maybe follow the timeline. So first of all, you decide what's the function of this post.
Well, I think that's
how about Amy?
So paraphrasing, actually you can use it in posts, but I guess for Facebook posts, because we have like a word limit, you don't want to put too much words in one post, just you're scared of your audience. I think another skill you can use is similar to paraphrase, but it's summary. You want to summarize something. 总结, you want to summarize a meeting. For example, you had like last Friday and there was 3 speakers and you want to summarize that speech into 1 sentence or 2. And for what Nathan just mentioned, the highlight you want to put in your Facebook post, I think for the highlight part, you can use paraphrase or summary to introduce a speaker. Like if you have a heavy-weighted speaker, if you have a really special event you want to promote, and that is when you can use you can use paraphrase and summary skills. But I guess for posts, I would still say summary is the way to go instead of paraphrasing. Paraphrase would sometimes take a little bit more space on a Facebook post.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank
very
you.
good. Do you have? I think the question is very good because we need to learn something from the Toastmaster we use in our work. That's the way we come here to learn. You not just use in the just learn in the Toastmaster and use the Toastmasters. And I like Zhen Qifeng, you can use the skills to in your daily work. I think there are questions. Do you have any questions? If you don't have any questions, I have questions from the other audience. Mason, someone asks you, does the storytelling skill also help with your translation career? How does the storytelling skill also help you with the translation career? How?
Yes, of course. For translation, we will encounter a lot of different types of. Okay, I have to say first, most of my job is about translation. It's not interpreting. So I write. I can say that. Sometimes we have to translate a story. The text where I'm translating is the story. So I have to know how to do storytelling, right? So that I can translate this one. If I use a very boring and that kind of way to translate, it will be very boring. And now I specialize in pattern translations. For most text I translate, it's like a pattern and invention. But it's also a way of telling a story because I need to introduce this invention to the readers, right? So I need to tell the readers what it's used for and the background of this invention. So of course it helps a lot on my job. Yeah, because I think it's a very valuable skill for everyone to learn in this era. I hope this answers his or her question.
Yeah, very good. Very good. We have another person. Alex.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. I have a question about the paraphrasing related to interpretation. Like sometimes, like the person that speak long story, too many things, and there are a lot of information you have to cover. So how do you paraphrase everything they said, like without any mistake? Because sometimes it's really hard. It's really hard because people that tell a long story, but you have to paraphrase every single thing, like that affect their stories. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. This is a really good question. So for interpreting, actually, you want to also incorporate the summary skills that we just talked about. Because sometimes a speaker, when they speak really fast, you cannot catch up, and you want to leave out all the unnecessary or not as important information, just to allow the audience to understand what the speaker is really talking about. So you want to just pick the key points instead of paraphrasing everything, instead of paraphrasing everything. So you want to incorporate both paraphrasing and summary skill. Summary for you to pick up all the key points and leave out all the unnecessary details of the story. For example, if the person talks about his bus ride and a lot of like he paid money or things like that, something you can omit, right? And the other part, like the important story, the storyline, when it's really the engaging part, the story, when it gets engaging, then you want to paraphrase it because you cannot interpret it word by word. It's not as natural when we are listening to the interpretation. You want to speak it in your own words. So you're like, I also connect to Mason's session as an interpreter, you also feel like you're in a storyteller when you are paraphrasing. So it's a combination of actually three of them.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Alex. Are you still there? I think it's screen free.
Oh yeah. So please, everyone, please, can we give you some feedback? Because now it's a survey time, and just please use the cell phone to scan the QR code. Give us some feedback because we can improve next time. So please take your cell phone and scan the QR code. Give us some feedback so we can improve next time. Give it everyone better workshop next time. And if you don't know, we have a link in the chat box. We still have a link. You can use the link in the chat box to click the link, answer a few questions. Thank you for your cooperation. So we still have questions, can proceed. If you have any questions, you can still take advantage of the time to ask our two professional translators, Amy and Mason. So I want to say thank you because this meeting leading by the D67 pathway program team, Yuanli, we've been practice, we've been rehearsal, we've been organized this workshop, especially this is the first time to do the pathway workshop in 2021. And I don't know how did you feel and what kind of suggestion you want to give it to us, please put in the feedback form. Do you have, oh yes. Yeah, thank you. Answer questions are very useful now. Okay, for language example. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Yang Jiahan. Good. Okay, thank you.
Darren?
Yes?
I have a question for the two translators.
Harrison, right? I can hear from your voice.
Okay, now this question is really nothing to do with the subject tonight. However, I'm curious about their job. Have they ever, being a professional translator, what is the most difficult part to be a translator? Well, based upon your past experience, or the happiest moment. Well, it's sort of like a sad and a happy moment. Can you share with us? Amy and Mason. Thank you.
Thank you, Harrison. This is a really good question. Now I get a stage to share what it feels like to be a translator. Okay, so first of all, the hardest part, I would say, like I shared that in my session, is that you have to be like Professor X sometimes. You don't have anyone to ask. You can only try to simulate like what they are talking about because you cannot reach out to the author or something like that due to some NDR or something like that. So sometimes you really have to use your imagination and trying to come up with the translation that fits into the like what the author or what the speaker is talking about. And the happiest moment, I guess, will be the Eureka moment, because translation, most of the time, I guess, 80% of the time, you feel like you're doing the same thing. You're just getting so used to it, like the same text, same type of original text, and you're just working on it because you just get so used to it. But sometimes you get these creative jobs, like, for example, Facebook posts, Instagram posts, where you get to do more storytelling, you get to do more transcreation. That is when you get to be creative. And that is the moment where you will sometimes have this Eureka moment, like if you have to translate introduce a type of local food in Taiwan, and the marketing, the post, the Instagram and Facebook post is really creative, and you have to come up with the equivalent or like a translation that can bring out the same effect. That is when you really have to think. And sometimes it just feels so frustrating. You just cannot think of anything that fits into a scenario. You just can't think of anything equivalent to what it feels like as a Chinese reader, and you translate into English. So the Eureka moment, sometimes when you get up and you feel like, oh, I know the translation, you just type it out. And then that is when it feels so great as a translator. Yeah, that's my sharing. And how about Mason?
Yeah, 100% agree with that magic moment in our life. Yeah, so for difficult part, wow, it's a lot, all blood and tears. Yeah, sometimes I think the most difficult part is that, yeah, first of all, we don't have someone to ask. We cannot ask a manager how to do that. And the most difficult part for me is that there's no specific answer for that, because for every translator, they will come up with their own version of this translation. So it's hard to tell which one is the best. Maybe sometimes my translation work for this client, she's happy about it, but the other one said, oh, it's a bad translation. And you don't know how to, yeah, so what's there's no specific answer, and there's no one single formula for a good translation. I think that's the most difficult part. And happy moment a lot, like that sense of achievement. And if you really help your client to solve a problem, you feel very happy. I think that's the the happiest moment in our job. Yeah.
Thank you, Harrison. The questions and Amy, amazing answers. Thank you very much. I hope you filled up the feedback form. If you don't know, you can just click the checkbox to give us some feedback. We have another question from Joseph. I think this is the last question. Joseph say, any possible for either of you plans to present this type of workshop individually? It's a question, Joseph?
It's not a question, it's an invitation.
Oh, invitation.
No.
It's a question. That's a question too.
No. What I mean is 2 workshops in one night. So a little bit short.
Oh, okay.
So if they can present one workshop for 30 or 40 minutes, I think that's more educative. That's what I mean.
Okay, thank you very much. And also we have the very 2 important roles we have to think. The first one is a Zoom master, James Chen, and is specialized in law. So please, James Chen, give us your introduction.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you. And it's my pleasure to support my mentor, Mason, as she's one of the trainers. And really happy to see so many people here at this night. And tomorrow we're going to walk. So wish we all have a good weekend and have a prosper and have fun. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. That's nice, mentee. Good. And our timer, Eric Xiao, he is a national professional Go player, 围棋国手. So please, Eric Xiao, give us some introduction.
Hi everyone. 大家听到吗？
Yes.
OK， 好，大家好，欢迎welcome everyone to our meeting and 祝大家有一个美好的周末，谢谢。
Thank you very much, Eric. Yeah, today he has a game to play, but yesterday we role play, we rehearsed until midnight, and he followed us. And now we thank you, the D67 Yuanling lead the program team. So we have the great workshop today. So going to take pictures or spotlights, take pictures, right?
Sure.
Okay, take a picture. Just 1, 2, 3. Thank you. And also we have some announcement from Yuanling. Yuanling, do you have something you want to share with everyone? Unmute yourself, please. Or maybe I can introduce. 我们在9月11号的礼拜六的时候会有一个 workshop， 这是中文的哦，这是中文的，由我们这个很有资深这个讲师立方还有黄家哦，这名字都很好听。主办是由台中台语国际演讲会的。那这次主题是讲梦想实践家。就我认识的立方，他是在帮助很多企业家打造创造新势力。哦，这是一个非常好的 workshop。如果你想要听一下，因为我们其实在每个人都其实有在自己的工作努力打拼，有些人想要实践创业，就可以听听这个非常有帮助的 workshop。And 9月11号，到时候这个 link 都会把它放在我们的FB 上面。如果你想要听有关于怎么实现、想要创业的话，这边还有我们的 QR code， please scan the QR code， 还有 YouTube support pathway 67。这 pathway 是可以帮助你improve your English speech。And I hope you enjoyed today's speech, and thank you all the audience participate this workshop, especially for the Amy and the Manson. Your workshop's nice. And maybe next time we can divide it to different individual speech, like Joseph say. Thank you, Joseph. So I think today's meeting with spot on. It's 1 minute behind the meeting. So I think I will call the meeting adjourned. So see you next time. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.